In the quiet moments of our lives, a question often surfaces. How are we meant to live? What does a life of purpose, a life aligned with the divine, truly look like? This isn't a new question, it's an ancient one, echoing through generations. The answer, for a fledgling nation just freed from bondage, was about to be revealed in a way that would shape history forever. Long ago, on a desolate mountain peak shrouded in mystery, God gave his people a clear and loving guide, 10 special commandments. These weren't just rules, they were a blueprint for a thriving community, a pathway to a deeper relationship with their Creator. Today, we journey back to that sacred moment to hear the powerful story of Moses on Mount Sinai and the 10 Commandments. Their journey began with a miracle, but freedom was the start of a long, arduous trek. After God delivered the Israelites from slavery in Egypt, he led them through the vast, unforgiving wilderness. The sun beat down, water was scarce, and doubts began to creep in. It was Moses who stood as their steadfast leader, constantly reminding them of God's promises, mediating their fears, and pointing them toward the future God had planned. After 3 long months, they finally arrived at Mount Sinai. There, at the foot of a huge, imposing rocky mountain, the people set up their camp, a sense of anticipation and awe filling the air. Their true journey was just beginning. While the nation waited below, their leader was called to ascend. Moses went up the lonely slopes of the mountain to meet with God, leaving the noise and worries of the camp behind. He was the bridge between the divine and the mortal. On that sacred peak, enveloped in a profound stillness, God proposed a covenant, a deep, binding, and personal promise, like a sacred marriage vow between God and his chosen people. It was an invitation into a unique and intimate relationship. God told him to return to the people with this incredible offer.
You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. The whole earth is mine, but you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation.
This was more than a promise of land. It was a promise of identity and purpose. For 3 days, the Israelites had waited at the foot of Mount Sinai, preparing themselves as Moses had instructed. The air was thick with anticipation. They had seen God's power before, but now they were to hear his voice. On the 3rd morning, their wait was over. Thunder roared and lightning flashed across the peak. A thick, dark cloud descended, enveloping the mountain in mystery. From within the cloud, the piercing sound of a trumpet grew louder and louder, until the very ground seemed to vibrate with its call. The people trembled with a mixture of fear and awe. This was the power of their God, and it was terrifyingly beautiful.
Do not be afraid. God has come so that the fear of him will keep you from sinning.
He then led the great assembly to the foot of the mountain. As they stood there, the entire mountain shook violently, for the Lord had descended upon it in fire. A hush fell. It was there, in this holy moment, that God spoke directly to his people, his voice thundering from the cloud, proclaiming the foundation of his covenant. These were not merely rules, but the very architecture for a life of freedom and holiness. God's first commandments showed his people how to love and honor him.
You shall have no other gods before me.
This was a radical call to exclusive devotion, a complete break from the many gods of Egypt.
You shall not make idols or worship them.
God was spirit, infinite and uncontainable, not a thing to be crafted by human hands.
You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God.
This was a call to deep reverence, to live in a way that brought honor to the holy name they carried.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy.
This was a gift of rest, a weekly reminder to cease from labor and trust in God's provision. These commandments formed the foundation of their new identity. They reminded the Israelites that God alone is to be worshipped, respected, and trusted above all else, the source of their life and their freedom. Having established their relationship with him, God now turned to the laws that would govern their relationships with each other. These were the blueprint for a just and compassionate community, designed to help them thrive together. First, honor your father and your mother. This was the cornerstone of their society, a call to cherish family, respect elders, and care for those who gave them life. You shall not murder. This sacred law protected the gift of life, affirming that every person was created in God's image. You shall not commit adultery. This guarded the sacred bond of marriage, ensuring trust and faithfulness would be the foundation of their families. You shall not steal. This protected the labor of every individual, fostering a community built on integrity. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Truth was to be the bedrock of justice in all their interactions. And finally, a command that reached into the heart. You shall not covet. This addressed the root of discontent, teaching the people to find satisfaction in God's provision. Together, these commandments formed a moral compass. They were a guide to respecting life, family, truth, and property, a vision for how to live in peace and kindness, reflecting the character of the God who set them free. As the final words echoed, the awesome display of God's presence intensified. The thunder, the lightning, the trembling ground, the sheer power of God's voice was overwhelming. It was a moment of profound revelation, but also of terrifying intimacy. The people were overcome with a deep, primal fear.
Trembling, they drew back. "Speak to us yourself and we will listen," they pleaded to Moses. "But do not have God speak to us directly, or we will die."
Moses, standing between the people and the mountain, raised his hands to calm them. "Do not be afraid," he said. "God has come to test you, so that a reverent fear of him will always be with you. This awe is a gift to help you turn from sin and walk in his ways."
And so, these 10 words were etched by the very finger of God onto 2 tablets of stone, a tangible sign of the covenant he had made with his people. These stones would be carried with them, a permanent reminder of who God is and how he called them to live, a sacred trust for all generations. The 10 Commandments are more than ancient rules. They are God's guidance for living right, for loving him with all our heart, and for treating others with kindness and respect. Even today, they remind us of God's holiness and his desire for us to walk in his ways. So the next time you think about how to live your life, remember the 10 Commandments. They are God's gift to guide us toward love, respect, and faithfulness. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible stories. See you next time.